All right. I decided I wanted to make a video on my channel where I talk about first edition D&D versus fifth edition D&D, just because I want to. And let me start by saying if you're easily offended by people saying things that you don't like to hear, don't watch. I don't know why anybody would be offended by anyone's opinion of D&D. I'm not. So if you say I'm an idiot for what I'm about to say, that's not going to offend me. Um, I would think it's pretty sad if that's your thought process, though, that you would say, "Oh, you're an idiot for thinking that about a game." This is my opinion of fifth edition versus first edition. It's not about bashing an edition. It's about why I agree or disagree with certain rules. And there are rules in first edition that I don't like and I think we're dumb. And there are rules in fifth edition that I don't like and I think are dumb. And I'm going to go over those. And there are things about, I think the thing I like about fifth edition, from the little that I know about it, because I've never played, but my brother's girlfriend has played fifth edition. It's the only edition she's ever played, other than when she played with me a couple times. Is that it's streamlined. The rules are easy. They're easy to follow. And it's a very well written book, so the game plays well, from what I understand. This is a copy of first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, also known as AD&D. I wanted to talk about this for a second too. I don't know how many people who play fifth edition have seen this book or even know that this is what the books used to look like. But because there's a demon on the cover, certain evangelical Christians were convinced that this game was the devil game, which is why you had the Satanic Panic back in the 80s. And I remember talking to one of those people, and I said, "So you think the book having a demon means this is a demonic game?" I said, "There's demons in the Bible. Is the Bible a demonic book?" He says, "That's not the same thing." I said, "Well, it's words in the book versus a picture on the cover." But I watched a video where a guy was saying, "Here's why D&D's satanic," and he pointed out how it mentions devils and demons and talks. I said, "There you go. It's in the Bible, demons and devils." And I also told him that the Book of Revelation was the first D&D module I ever read, and he looked at me funny when I said that. So, but it sounds like a D&D module to me. Anyway, I digress. I want to talk about just a few comparisons of the two editions, and if we can get into a discussion in the comments, that would be great. Again, I'm not here to bash fifth edition. I'm here to say what I agree with and what I disagree with, and why I like first edition better. I also like second edition D&D. I've never played any other edition because when I saw the rulebook for third edition, I set it down and walked away, and I've never played third edition or any other edition. I've only played first and second, basic, I guess. I've never played original. I've never seen those books. I've only seen them on YouTube. But there's some really weird changes that Wizards of the Coast made to this game, and I don't know. I'm not really sure why they did it. I can't argue with their results. They've sold like crazy. But let me just show you some of the things. In your modifiers for fifth edition versus first edition, I think I'm just going to take I'll just read them. Your modifiers for fifth edition for ability scores of 10 or 11. This is very streamlined because it's all the same. It's not the same. It's not streamlined in first edition. So 10 or 11 is a 0 modifier. 8 or 9, and I'm reading over here, is -1. 6, 7, -2. don't worry about anything else. 12, 13, anything below. 12, 13 is +1, 14, 15 is +2. Okay. This is where my issue is with the game. Let me read to you what the game was. In first edition, in order to have a +1 damage bonus to your attacks. Now in fifth, you needed a strength of 12, and if you had a strength of 9, you had a -1. In first edition, you needed a strength of 16 to do a +1 damage bonus. So if you had a 15 strength, you got no damage bonus. To get a hit probability of +1, you needed a 17 strength. 16 strength, you're 0 to hit, +1 damage. 17 strength, +1 to hit, +1 damage. Again, I'm reading over here. 18 strength, +1 to hit, +2 to damage. This is one of the reasons AD&D was a hard game. And 18 strength, and you only had +1. Now I can see giving that should be higher. I would agree. But then we go into what's called exceptional strength, which is strength from 1801 to 18100. And the range there's six levels. It goes from +1 to +3 on your hit probability, and your damage bonus goes from +3 to +6 at 1800 strength. So if you had 1800 strength, you were +3 to hit, +6 damage. Now you're saying, what the heck is 1800 strength? Because in fifth edition, it just goes from 18 to 19. So +6 modifier, that's a 22-23 strength. +3 to hit bonus with an 1800 strength, that would be a 16 or 17. I'm assuming dexterity is the hit modifier, is what they're using in fifth edition. We all loved exceptional strength. I can only think that the reason Wizards got rid of exceptional strength was, it's too confusing. It's too confusing. No, it's not. It was fun. We loved exceptional strength. Only fighters could get exceptional strength. So if you got an 18 strength, you rolled a percentile die, and if you rolled 00, you had an 1800 strength, and that was great. And by the way, that's the equivalent strength of an ogre in first edition D&D. Ogres had 1800 strength, but they didn't get +6 damage bonus, which was a mistake. They should have. They just did D10 damage, and we would sit there and go, wait, why don't ogres get +6 damage? And it's like, well, yeah, they should. But that's strength. Let me read you dexterity. I'm just going to slide down to it. You needed a 15 dexterity to get a -1 defense adjustment, because in advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition, we used, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here. We used negative armor classes. So the bonus was a -1 to your defense. Your armor class was 1 lower. And it was simply -1 to -4, 15, 16, 17, 18. And the penalties were at 6, 5, 4, and 3. So from 7 to 14, the modifiers are 0. I could see 7s and even maybe 8s having penalties. I could see 14 getting a bonus. 13, I wouldn't. At my peak, when I was about 19 years old, I had a 13 strength. I don't think I would have done any extra damage. I really don't. And by the way, I don't know if 5th edition says this or not, but a 13 strength means you can take a barbell of 130 pounds and lift it over your head, just like that. That's 130 pounds, 13 strength. So an 18 strength, you could do that with 180 pounds. That's what the numbers mean. Your intelligence is your IQ times 10. So a 13 intelligence means your IQ is 130, and 18 intelligence is 180. It actually kind of makes sense. Constitution, you needed a 15. basically 15, 16, 17, 18 is +1, +2, +3, +4. But +3 and +4 for your hit point adjustments were only for fighters. Everyone else is either +1 or +2. +1 at 15, 16 or higher, +2. So that's the big difference between 5th edition and 1st edition. It's the modifiers were not 12 and higher and 9 and lower. I can't believe that a 12 is giving you a bonus and a 9 is giving you a penalty. 9 to 12 on the bell curve, which is shown in the Dungeon Master's Guide, is the realm of average. That's your average roll. Your average roll when you roll 3d6 is 9 to 12. So there shouldn't be any penalties or bonuses between 9 and 12. There absolutely shouldn't be. You could argue for 8 and 13, maybe you should get something, but I would go 7 and 14. That's where I would do it. However, let me get into something that I think is unreal in 5th edition. In 5th edition, to go up levels, it's 1 experience point table. I don't know how many of you 5th edition players know this, but in 1st edition and in 2nd edition, each class had their own experience point table, and each class went up at different rates. The thief went up the quickest. The thief is now referred to as a rogue. I actually agree with that. I think the rogue, calling the thief a rogue makes sense. Calling your rogue character a thief doesn't make sense. You're a thief. Why would we want you to go adventuring with us? Why would you want to go adventuring with a thief? It makes no sense to me. Rogue makes sense. I agree with that. I think that's one thing that Wizards of the Coast did right. But in 5th edition, you need 300 experience points to go up to 2nd level, then 900, 2,700. To get to 9th level, you need 48,000 experience points. Sounds like a lot. No. The reason 5th edition characters fly up levels is because of that experience point table. Let me just read to you a little bit. For a cleric, and I'm reading off the tables on the player's handbook on my computer screen, you needed 1,500 experience points to make it the 2nd level, and you needed 225,000 experience points to make it to 9th. I'm just going to do 1st and 9th, because in 5th edition, it's 348,000. So that's cleric. Druid, you needed 2,000. You needed only 90,000 to go to 9th. So druids go up fast for 1st edition. That's still 90,000 though. I forget why the druid goes up quicker. I don't remember. There are reasons for these tables being different. The fighter, which I think is called a warrior in 5th edition, I'm not sure. That's a generic term. It doesn't make any difference to me. Both are fine. 2,000 experience points, 250,000 to get to 9th. The paladin is one of the hardest characters to go up a level. A paladin needed 2,750 experience points to go to 2nd level. And to get to 9th level, he needed 350,000 experience points. He needed over 1 million to get to 11th level. This is what 1st edition D&D is. A ranger is 2,250, 9th level, 225,000. A magic user, really hard also, 2,500 to get to 2nd level, but to get to 9th was only 135,000. And I could see where that could have been a problem, because when you do these experience point tables, by the time you get to 9th level, the magic user tends to be the most powerful character, and he gets there faster than some of these other classes, which I could see redoing these experience points tables simply for that reason alone. The illusionist was a class. It's basically the same as the magic user. It was slightly different numbers. The thief went up the quickest, and I agree, as I already said, call it a rogue, because that's what you are. You're a rogue. You're not a thief. You don't steal from people. You can, but that's not what your character does. The thief character finds, removes traps, hides in shadows, moves silently, backstabs. Nothing that you do involves stealing, except maybe once in a while in the game you might try to pick someone's pocket. But their percentage chances of a first edition thief trying to pick pockets, you don't want to try to pick pockets. It's like 30-35%. It's really bad. But for a thief to go up, rogue to go up, you needed 1,250 experience points. So that's the lowest. That was the quickest one. 1,250 versus 300 in 5th edition. And this is my major issue between the two editions. To get to 9th level, the thief needed 110,000. So the druid actually gets there the quickest. But that's the major difference with this game, is that it was hard. It was hard to go up a level. It was very hard to get to 9th level. And the point of that was it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be a challenge. And they took that away. And I think they did it to cater to children who wanted their characters to be super powerful and go up levels. It's all like, reward, reward, reward. And what I would have said if I was there would have said, do you know that kids love playing first edition D&D because of how difficult it is? Because they want so badly to not die so their character survives. And when their character dies, they'd have to roll up another character, and now they're like, okay, this guy's not going to die. And that was part of the game. And it's a normal part of the game. And I don't like that it's been sanitized the way it has. I really don't like that about 5th edition. Let's talk hit points. In 5th edition, I believe you all get maximum hit points. I think if the dungeon master says you first level, everybody gets max hit points, that's fine. The rule book to say that you get why do you get maximum hit points? So every character, every fighter has the exact same points to start. Every druid has everybody. What? That doesn't make any sense. Now, 1st edition was brutal. 1st edition, the magic user got a 4-sided die. I think it's 6 in 5th. So you could have 1 hit point, but the most you could have is 4, unless you got a con bonus. I disagree with that. I don't disagree with the 4-sided die. The thief, the rogue, got a 6-sided die. The clerics, druids had an 8-sided die. The fighter had a 10-sided die. The ranger actually got 2 8-sided dice at first level. It's an odd thing. But the point was you got whatever you rolled. Now, I think there should have been a minimum. And in my game, which I have not played in a while, but if I ever do play again, in my game, wizards, magic users are guaranteed a minimum of 4 hit points because 4 is low and it's hard to survive. So 4 is the minimum for magic users and rogues. 5 is for clerics, druids, any D8, anyone who rolls a D8, their minimum starting hit points is 5. You roll the die, and if you get above that, then you get whatever you get. But if you don't, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you get 5. If you have a 10-sided die, I actually changed it up a little bit. I gave monks 6, paladins 7, fighters or warriors 8, and then there's barbarians and rangers. I think it was either 9 or 10. And that's just the minimum to start. But I don't believe in maximum hit points unless the dungeon master wants to make that for their campaign. We had a guy run a game once where we started with maximum hit points, and the reason he did that was because the module was hard. So that, to me, is another thing where they sanitized the game, made it too simple, made it too easy. The other part would be death and dying. I don't know what the 5th edition rule is. I think it's when you drop below 0, you get a death save, and if you make your save, you don't die. In 1st edition Dungeons and Dragons, when your character hit 0 or lower, you died. I think that's a little. I don't. I think they. I don't know if they changed that in first edition, advanced or not. I know that was the rule in basic. 0 or below is death. You're dead. When I first played, um, when you dropped down, if you drop down between from 0 to -3, we bound your wounds and you rolled a 4-sided die. And if the 4-sided die brought you back to positives, you didn't die. That's still pretty hard rule. There is a rule in AD&D, and I think it's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, where death doesn't occur until -10 hit points. But when you fall to 0 or negative hit points, you lose 1 hit point per round, per combat round, until your wounds are bound, unless your wounds are bound or someone casts Cure Light Wounds on you, and then you don't die. But if you hit -10, you're dead. In my game, what I'm going to do is make -5 be death, and 0 to -4, you are in and out of consciousness. -4, you're at death's door, and there's saving. I've worked out my own little system for that. I don't know if a death save is a bad rule or not, because I'm not sure. I can't. When I think about it, it doesn't sound bad, but I've seen some old school gamers really mock that rule. Like, my God, that is pathetic. It's a terrible rule. I don't know if it's a terrible rule. I like negative hit points. I like being knocked unconscious but not dead, but you could die or you could live. Just because you're at negative hit points doesn't mean you're going to die, but you could die. That makes more sense to me. And binding your wounds and curing your wounds, and eventually you'll get up to positives and you'll recover and you won't die. For me, the reason I played Dungeons and Dragons was because it was hard. It was a challenge. The thrill of the game was survival. If we get through the evening and none of us died, no one died. We might have gotten knocked unconscious, but nobody died. Nobody has to roll up a new character. Or if we died, was there a way to raise them from the dead? If that happened and nobody lost their character, that was a successful evening. And there's with the game the way it is now, I'm guessing death almost never occurs. I have heard several people who play 5th edition agree with me on this and say, "Oh yeah, and in my game, I make sure that death is a real possibility." And I said, I mean, if death isn't a real possibility, why are you playing? Oh, we're gonna go invade this orc lair and fight all these orcs, and we're gonna kill all these orcs, and it's great. And yeah, how did it go? Oh, it was great. We killed them all, and nobody died or anything, and it was like nothing. It's like, what's the point of that? When I first played and we entered a cave and were attacked by orcs, and they're describing these things as they're as tall as us and they've got pig-like faces, and it was a battle, and I'm scared that one of us is going to die, one or more of us. We could all die. As a matter of fact, the first time I played, we were late to the game, and we said, so what's going on? They said, oh, we're all dead. And they got attacked by elves, a group of elves who just attacked them and killed everybody. I was like, oh, everybody's dead. I didn't even know how to play the game yet. I just was going to join. And wow, that was crazy. So to me, 1st edition is better. 2nd edition is better than 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Some people like 3.5. I don't know anything about 3.5. Okay, last thing I want to do is, now that I've made this D&D video, which I hope people will click on, I'm going to talk to you all about a book that I wrote. It's a D&D book. It's a D&D novel. What I describe it as is D&D in story form. I self-published it on Amazon. If you want to go look at it, you can. But I've narrated it on my channel. You can listen to the book for free. It's on my blog. You can read it for free. There are links in my narration to both Amazon, if you would like to buy it, if you like the book and you'd like to buy it, you can. There's links there in the description, and there's also links in the description or in the pinned comment, I forget which, to my blog where you can read. Now, this is my book. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. I've done this before, but I'm hoping more people are going to watch. Hopefully it's in view here. Forestera's Fate, Book 1, The Sacred Shrine and the Valley of Caves. I'm just hoping that gets in there. It's a pretty thick book. It's over 500 pages long. It is light reading. This is not heavy reading. This is a very easy read. And I've made it so that anyone can read it for free. You do not have to buy it. I would say if you really like it and would like to own it, or you'd like to simply just support me, that's great. But if you don't want to buy it, that's fine. You can read it for free. You can listen to it on my YouTube channel. To do that, you just have to go to my channel, click playlist, and then click the one called Forestera's Fate. I've been making these little excerpts that I call excerpts from Forestera, where I give a little small window into one of the chapters, and I'm going one chapter at a time through it, just to give like a snippet of what the story is about. And I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in these or not, but we'll see. I'm trying to find ways to promote my book. But what I really want, in addition to whether or not somebody buys my book, what I'm really hoping to get to happen is to get a dialogue going in the comments. I would love it if some of you would listen to my narration and leave a comment telling me what you think. I'd love to get into a discussion about this story. I'd like to hear what people think about it. Is this a good D&D book or not? I also want to get into a discussion about first edition and fifth edition. I've never played fifth edition, so I can't say definitively that it's worse than first edition. But based on what I've seen, based on what I've heard, first edition sounds like a much better edition to me. And there are YouTube channels out there that will show comparisons of the two editions, how the fifth edition characters can wipe out first edition characters because they're way more powerful. They have way too many abilities, way too many skills. And the first edition first level party is no match for a fifth edition first level party. And that's not good. Your characters shouldn't be overpowered, because what's the point? If you start powerful, what's the challenge? What's the point of the game? The point of the game when we played was you start out weak. You might have an 18 strength, you might have 10 hit points, but you're not overpowered. Death was a real option. Characters weren't overpowered. There weren't tons of abilities. There weren't tons of things that you could acquire. But every time you go up levels, you got more stuff. You got more powerful. And high-level characters were very, very powerful. But apparently no match for 5th edition. And I just think that's sad that they've overpowered the game like that. I don't get it. I prefer a hard game that's challenging. I still want role playing. I still want battling. I still want adventuring, exploring wildernesses, interacting in towns and doing things. But I don't want a cakewalk where we just obliterate everything in our path because there's nothing to it. I would get bored with that real quickly, and I'm really surprised that 5th edition has succeeded, seeing how powerful characters are. I know this because I've watched some of these videos where they've shown the comparisons of the two editions, and I'm like, this is crazy. So those are my thoughts. Feel free to share with yours. Again, if you're offended by this, I would ask, why in the world are you offended? I don't understand that. I really, really don't understand why anybody would be offended by someone's opinion of a role-playing game. I don't get that. If somebody wants to bash first edition, I don't get offended. I can bash parts of first edition. So why be offended if somebody bashes fifth edition? Why should that offend you? If you like fifth edition, what do you care if somebody doesn't? Or whatever edition? It's very, very bizarre to me how we're all getting offended at every little thing. But now I better stop talking about that because I could go on forever. All right. I hope you all like this video, and I hope we can get into a discussion about this. And I hope you'll check out my story, my narration at least, and listen to it. Maybe read it on my blog and leave comments, because then we can get into a discussion about the book as well as about D&D. And that's really what I'd like to do. It's not about making money. Money is icing on the cake. It's more about engaging with people and talking about stuff. And that's what I want to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this.